This situation is an interesting one. She says, my boyfriend wants to stop having sex before marriage with me. What are your experiences on this? They're both 28 years old. She wants to still have sex. She wants to have that in their relationship, but she lives with this man and she's financially dependent on this man. So she has to kind of give in to what he says. Let's go ahead and look at the full post though. She says, hi everyone. After years of reading Reddit, I guess it's my turn to ask for advice. After a bit more of a year together, and just after moving in with my boyfriend, who's 28, he told me that he felt the calling to stop having sex before marriage so he could get closer to God. We've been intimate since the beginning, though, to be honest, intimacy wasn't great at the start. I had a much higher libido than he did, and the sex in itself wasn't incredible. But recently things changed. He had way more libido and it started getting very nice. But then a few days ago, he wanted me to stop until we get married. I'm sorry, it says he told me he wanted to stop until we get married. For more religious context, we're both from non religious families, but just before we met, we felt a bit of a calling towards God around the same time. He got a bit more serious with it and started reading the Bible regularly. His best friend is also a lot into the Bible and religion. However, my boyfriend doesn't go to church at all. When he told me he wanted to stop sex until marriage, I was very confused and got caught off guard. I told him I needed time to think. Since then, I've been feeling frustration, anger, and sadness towards him. I understand that he's following his own path with God, and I even find that beautiful in a way. But I also feel like it's a selfish decision and like it is indirectly pushing or forcing me to accelerate my own spiritual journey. I told him yesterday that I'm mad at him and needed time to get through this anger and didn't know how long it's going to take. The thing is, we won't get married now. We're thinking in 3 to 4 years from now. This is the part that is a mess. I'm also very financially dependent on him as he pays for everything. We are living in his apartment and I can't afford to live by myself without him helping me. I tried to work during my studies and I had several burnouts during last year. Please, I would love to get your advice on this situation. Consent is for everybody. He has put up a boundary and she needs to figure out what she is going to do with herself. Is she going to be like, okay, and accept his boundary? Or is she going to figure out how to get out of his apartment? This is the main reason why being financially independent is so important because life happens. People will have rules. People will change in relationships. And what he has changed is their sex life. He has changed that. So she's either going to accept the change that he has created. The change that's created is no more sex before marriage. Or she's going to say, I am unwilling to be celibate for the next 3 to 4 years, and she's going to have to figure out how to leave. Because consent, like I said, is for everybody. He gets to choose to be celibate if he wants to. But this is the main reason why having your finances together is so important. So you can leave unappealing relationships. You can leave whatever relationship is not suiting for you, suitable for you. If that is not how you want to live, it could be whatever boundary someone puts up. It could be abuse. It could be cleanliness. It could be whatever. When you are together and you're like, I don't want to live like this. I need to separate. You need to have the money to be able to do that. In her case, it's that she doesn't want to burn out. So, does which one is more important? Being in school and work and maybe getting burnt out, or being celibate for the next 3 to 4 years? Or is she going to be able to just create a game plan on how she's going to execute leaving in a certain time frame? She's going to have to figure that out. Anyways, that's what I think. She needs to figure out how she's going to get out of this apartment and get on her own feet financially. That is what I think she should do. Because obviously, if she wants to have sex, she's not going to be able to have sex with him. All right, so let's look at the comments. We have a Fluff Muffin saying, so he's your boyfriend of only 1 year, yet you live with him and are financially dependent on him. That's the biggest issue here. He's allowed to not want to have sex, and there's not much you can do about that issue. Here's the OP saying, I understand that it seems like an issue for you. I had a difficult situation before meeting him, but obviously would love to be less dependent. But while studying, it's a challenge for me. So, what are you going to do about that? If it's a challenge while studying, maybe studying is going to have to be put on the back burner until you can find a roommate situation or something better. Fluff Muffin says, it sounds like you should have spent some time getting your life together before deciding to mooch off a man in the name of school. Plenty of adults make school and employment work because they have to. And that is what she's going to have to figure out. And this is one I will continue to say, I will say it time and time again. Use your 20s to get your education out of the way, get your career foundation together, and get your financial stability together. I will continue to say this because you do not want to find yourself financially dependent and then you find yourself in a bad situation that you can't just readily leave. Darkling Dawn says, if sex in a relationship is important to you, then this guy probably isn't the right fit for the long run. He has the right to decide that he doesn't want to have sex before marriage, and you have the right to decide that you don't want to continue in the relationship because of that. Look for some kind of roommate situation that you can afford, then move out. But continuing to stay with him simply because you're financially dependent on him would be using him, which would be a really poopy thing to do. The OP says, thank you. It's good advice. I really love him and want to see if it's manageable for me. But if it's not, obviously, I wouldn't want to stay with him. Um, I got a little confused about the knee, but she says, I wouldn't want to stay with him if he's no longer feeling in love. MB Minx says, you are 28 and financially dependent on living with a guy you've only been with for a year. You need to establish your independence. Yes, working through your studies is difficult, but plenty of people do it. Find roommates and move in with them. You don't have to break up if you don't want to. I'd look for someone more compatible, but you do you. But if he wants to postpone sex until marriage, you are well within your rights to put off the other benefits of marriage, like living together. That would also give space to consider if this is really a good match. It's easier to think independently when you aren't dependent on him. Dragon Chick says, the way I was reading this was that you were close to being married, but I didn't realize that he wanted to stop with an indefinite timeline. He can have his lifestyle and religion, and you can disagree with and not want to follow it. No one is in the wrong here. What you need to do is think if this is the relationship for you that will give you what you need, not only financially, but also emotionally, physically, etc. Decide what's important to you, and if he can't provide those things, then break up with him. And then here's the OP saying, yes, I definitely think that if it was on a shorter timeline, it would be fine. Thank you for your advice. So we have a throwaway saying, in my opinion, this is always incredibly silly to me when I hear about this. You have sex, you can't take back the sex. Pretty sure an omnipotent God would know that you're both not virgins and you guys have had premarital sex. Doubly odd that he doesn't go to church, but is thinking this way, especially when the Bible doesn't specifically mention premarital sex being bad. All it does is equate sex with marriage. It doesn't mean sex before getting legally married and having the ceremony is wrong. The only possible misinterpretation is from the mistranslation in the King James Version. As well, since he's not going to church, where is he getting this information? Is he big into the manosphere? And then she says, he told me he read it in the Bible that sex should be only under marriage and that once we are married, God said we can enjoy it as much as we want to. But like someone else said in the comments, maybe he's using this as a way to cover for them having mismatched libidos. Maybe he just pushed himself too much, she said, when things were starting to get better, and now he just needs a break. Whatever is his choice, she needs to figure out what she wants to do with it. Okay, I got cut off. She needs to figure out what she wants to do with her life. Is she going to be in an unfulfilled situation so she can live, or is she going to figure out where she's going to live and get a job? That's going to be completely on her. Anyways, go ahead, join the conversation. Let me know what you think of this one. Very interesting.